So, ladies, I want to welcome you to the Queen's Table. Thank you for joining me today. And in order to get started, I want to talk a little bit about how you guys joined the organization. So, basically, how we met, and I guess a little bit about how it is working here at Tooley Community Development Group. Okay. And also a little where you're from and I guess what you were doing before. Okay. So let's start with Crystal.
Well, I'm Crystal,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of scouted me.
I did.
Was picked up from a hardware store while I was stocking, and she approached me with a business card and pretty much told me that I didn't look like I belonged there, which she wasn't wrong. I didn't. We had a
Right.
meeting, and we just kind of hit it off from there, and I've been
Right.
here since.
Yep. And like I said, like Crystal said, I saw her stocking shelves in a hardware store, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And after I got to know Crystal and talk to her a little bit, and saw how bright you were, it was just like you could be doing so much more. And since Crystal's been on board with us, it's just been like, oh my God, this girl is like so talented. What were you doing there? So yeah, I'm so glad to have you on board. And tell a little bit about what you do or what you've. Now you started out at the front desk and did a really great job, sort of organizing things and making things flow better. But what are you doing now with us?
Now I am housing program manager. So, helping process USDA loans and grants for people that need them, disaster relief for rural areas, for here in MIMS and
Yeah.
other areas from Hurricane Ian and
Nicole, I
I
think.
think it was Nicole.
So I think just to bring that out a little bit more, the USDA is for people whose homes were damaged in those storms, and there's money available for fixing up these homes. So if that's something that somebody needs, you need to give us a call because there's plenty of money out there. So,
Yes.
and Crystal is the one in our organization that will be processing those things. So I'm very, very glad to have her on board. And honestly, might might be losing a bit of her time as she goes back to school, right?
Yes.
For
For architecture.
awesome,
Definitely
awesome.
trying to go back to school to finish my architecture degree.
Yes, yes, and so proud of you, and I pray that all of that works out for you.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, and now Miss Tynesha.
Nice. First off, thank you for having me on here.
Absolutely.
Yes, I started off with Career Source Brevard. I was going through a job training program, and Janae was really like, Tanisha, I have an idea of where I really want to put you based on your talents. I really don't think you should be doing these type of other jobs. She's like, I think you're better suited for what they have going on over at Tooley. So we set up the interview and I hit it off. I liked coming in. I saw Crystal immediately. I saw her vibe and I saw the chill vibe of the room. And I was like, when I met with Janae after the interview, she's like, all right, how do you feel? Do you feel good about it? And I was like, yeah, they are cool. I was really able to be myself. I really started branching out, and the reason why I got into the job training program off rip was because I needed a career change. I came from FedEx, where I was a contract manager, managing the trucks, managing my staff, and making sure that our operations were running as smoothly as possible, truck maintenance, making sure I was keeping up with all the documents and stuff over there. But I really needed something different. I was like, I know I wanted to stay truck driving, and this is what I thought I wanted. But as I continued to grow, I was like, I think I'm ready for something else. And that's why I really just drove into tech while I was with Career Source. And they're like, oh, well, Tanisha, they do a little bit of, data over there. So maybe we could just hook you up. And I got hooked up.
Yeah. And we got hooked up because I feel incredibly blessed to have both of you on staff. I did not expect to have such talent, and you guys are off the charts awesome. And what I love about it is that you're also Brevard County natives, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Both of you. Okay. And Crystal grew up in East Mims like I did, which is like I would have never expected. to find, not that there's anything wrong with MIMS, but I'm talking about this level of talent. I didn't know.
An anomaly.
I didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, kind of unpack the idea of growing up. Not just, we know what's going on in Florida. We know what's happening in Florida right now, and it is challenging, to say the least, for not just Black women but Black people in general to be in this atmosphere at this time. I am a huge Black history buff, so to see our Black history being shifted and twisted the way that it's being right now is painful for me. And also coming from a community like East Mims that has such a rich history and has not even really been pulled out yet, hasn't been fully expressed yet. I think growing up here in East Mims, I know what I went through, and I know the self-esteem issues that I went through. And it was right. Okay, I'm dating myself. But it was before the Cosby Show.
Okay.
It was before all of those images of strong Black thriving families, educated families. I didn't grow up on that. I had Sanford and Son.
Mm-hmm.
I had Good Times, right?
Yeah.
And so, and so, just as I was starting to, I think I was matriculating from high school into college, was right when the Cosby Show and Different World, that was the thing. I was in college when Different World was on, so it was just like, yes, a Black college, you know. But growing up in Mims, I didn't have those images. I didn't have anything like that. And so it just became this, who are we? And if you're not teaching the kids our history, then it feels like you're just this disconnected, like, how did we end up here? Why are we behind everything else? Why is nobody have any money? Why are we, I'm not sure. Is that the gist that you guys got as you were growing up, especially you being from here in Mims? How did that hit you?
That's where you stump me.
Okay. So you went to predominantly white schools, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And did you feel a sense of otherness?
Yeah, I definitely didn't belong. Definitely some body imaging issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever I tried to work through those issues with family, it just got me made fun of, which made it worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you?
Nah, it was cool. Because I didn't know anything other than that. Mm-hmm. When you're a child growing up in these communities, this is really all you kind of know. So I had to go to Endeavor Elementary School, which predominantly at that time was like a bad school, quote unquote. And then when I went to Ronald McNair Middles, it was kind of like, oh yeah, so I'm up here, I'm up here with I'm up here with the scholars, because we were a good middle school. Mm-hmm. Our basketball team was off the chain. Everybody knew Ronald McNair was that school you really wanted to go to in my brain. And then everything shifted when I hit maturity after, and I really got into my freshman year. And I really just started to realize that, hey, how come Vieira and all these other places, can have all of these great extracurricular, their band, their orchestra gets all the hype, but we're only known for football. Mm-hmm. How come we don't put any more funding and effort into these other electives and things? And then that's when I started to realize it was the money. Because Cocoa was known for our football team, and growing up in Cocoa, we were known for our football team. That's where everybody was just like, this is how we're going to get our name, because we were also known for our fights. We were also known for our bad kids. We were also known for unruliness. But I didn't even start to realize that. I thought, growing up, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to all these great schools. I'm going to go out and I'm going to be the best. And this is like the image that I want to have. And then, when you start to feed and going visiting other places where they have a lot more funding, a lot more resources, they spend a lot more time investing into their children and not pushing them into sports, it's like, oh no, please. Am I like the help? Like, do I need to have an ad on TV saying, give me, money to help me, fund me? It's like, why do I have to start a GoFundMe at such a young age when I'm trying to like get into dual enrollment and stuff just for me to like try to get these other resources and stuff? And I'm just like, wow, it didn't really hit me until I got older. But up until that point, our community was phenomenal.
So, okay, so it didn't hit you until you got older. What was that like? I mean, what did you make different decisions? Like, did you have a vision of where you wanted to go?
Of course.
And then understanding, wait a minute, maybe I can't reach that path. Is that how it hit you?
That's how it hit me when I realized that, because I played violin all throughout. I started. And it's funny because a lot of my family didn't know I started playing violin in elementary school. Wow. And because it was the aspect of I was afraid to get made fun of. Right. So I just kept it. I missed all my concerts because, you had to go perform at concerts, but I'd still excel all up until middle school where I had to, start taking my instrument home and really getting into my practicing that my mom was like, I didn't know you played an instrument.
Wow.
I used to skimp out on all my instrumental fees because I was like, I ain't got no one to pay it. But somehow my teacher, I guess she knew, my teachers always made a way for me. And I think that's where, that's why I felt like we really had community in my type of schools. I was like, yeah, we're the best schools. But then at high school, I was like, all right, well, nobody's really coming to my concerts. You guys know, nobody's showing up for me. I'm being told that that's not really a career path for me. I need to find something else to do. I got an invitation in the mail to go to Berkeley College up in Boston to check out their orchestra program because I was, they saw me and they wanted to extend the invitation for me to go out there because I would have been a possible candidate. And I was like, this is great. This is great. She was like, well, my mom had to have me that talk. I was like, no, I don't think this is something that you can actually, do. I think we need to focus on something else because at the time, our people aren't really, heavy instrument. It was like, well, go to college or go to the military. And if you don't do either of those, you really can't be successful. And that's what I want to
segue this into. I want to pull that out. Was there a moment like that for you where you felt like I have these aspirations, I have these dreams, but wait a minute, this is not something I can reach based on the way the path this community is set for me?
Almost in a way, kind of similar to Tanisha's. I was younger. I liked drawing a lot. I did end up getting into art when I finally got into college. Didn't do it in high school or growing up because I wanted my electives for marching band. So I just didn't do art. So I took a while. But growing up, I did express a very big interest in doing art, painting, drawing, sketching. However, whenever I expressed that interest to my parent, she told me to find a different career because artists don't make money. And that was very traumatic for me.
Yes.
It still bothers me to this day. And it's been very hard to even get back into drawing because I did go through a stint of depression at one point and I lost all of my interests. And I've been slowly working on getting them all back. But the one that I'm afraid most of trying to do is draw. And it's been very difficult for me to even find the inspiration or the willpower to the strength, most likely, to even pick up a pencil and try to draw anything. So I'm just afraid now.
Wow. And I have seen, like, I think we were working on something and I was trying to draw it. And I was like sketching out something and you were like, you mind if I try? And when you started sketching, I was like, wow. And I think that was before I knew that you were interested in architecture. I mean, once I started finding out a little bit more about you, things started falling in place, but it still seems like there's just always these new surprises that I get about your abilities and your skills. But I think this is a perfect spot at the Queen's table today to try to understand with this business that we're in of community development, to understand that these women that we reach out to in this community, they've had these experiences, right? And some of them have had them in a way that have impacted them more, impacted them harder, And so what I want to really bring out today, to get to today with you guys, is what are those conversations that need to happen at this table to help these women understand that there are no barriers. There are no barriers. What are the things that we need to sort of peel back? Because I think there's some self-esteem issues. I think there's some, and depending on how deep these women have been impacted by, and I'm not going to blame it necessarily. It's not our community. It's not just this community. It is the greater community, the larger community that puts pressure on this community. And I worked in this community over on the other coast, where I worked there probably for a year before I knew where all the Black people were. And they were all in like this 1 square mile area. And it was like they had been, I hate to say it, but it's as if they had been trained that this is where you belong, don't come out. But the larger community put pressure on that community, whether it was through the things that we know about, like redlining, the things that we know about, like just lack of infrastructure, lack of investment. So understanding that there are ways around those barriers, I think those are the conversations that we need to have at this table. So kind of putting yourself back into that mindset, what would have pulled you forward? What would have helped you see that, wait a minute, maybe I can maneuver around this? What did you need at that time?
Learning how to be more emotionally available. I think that's the start. When we try to shut down what we feel and just try to base it off of taking care of others' feelings, that's where we really start to learn what I want isn't important, but for the greater good, I have to be this type of person. So if we can just escape that mindset of pleasing others and doing what we feel is wholesome and right for us, I feel that that's going to help us branch out and be more open to different type of paths, because it's that mindset, it's being emotionally available to say, I have to put me first, but thank you. I appreciate it. But I have to do this for me.
And I would say, putting that in a nutshell, it's being committed to your truth.
Yes.
Being at living your truth. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about there's times when your truth is at odds with where you want to go.
Yes.
And having the maturity to hear that, to accept that, and to sort of change direction.
Yes.
If there's a place where you want to go, but what you call your truth is hindering you, you got to be honest about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna put a pin in that. But anything that you would see that at that moment when you were that kid that was saying, well, maybe I can't do this, what would have helped you at that moment? What can we be to those women to help them?
I mean, honestly, it just more support, like just more being there. I feel like you shouldn't just knock down someone's dream because you feel a certain way. But I also feel like that goes back to being financially unstable.
Yes.
From her point of view, the way I see it is she wanted to make sure that I end up in a career where I was making money because we didn't have money. And so in her mind, artists don't make money. So no, you can't be an artist and you shouldn't be an artist. Yeah. But that's not the truth. But that's how she feels. And I think she was more so looking at my future to make sure I was financially stable.
Yeah. And it came from a place of love. And honestly, I went the opposite way. My daughter was interested in theater. And I was like, yes, go and major in theater. And now I'm kind of like, she's doing fine. She is self-sufficient. But I'm like, if I had said something different, she might not have such a hard way to go. So it definitely came from a place of love. So I respect that. But I think something that you said, more support. I think one of the things that we are missing here in our community is a sense of community, right?
Yes.
Where there's a space where women are supporting each other. One thing that I noticed that is missing in the Black community in general is the queens.
Yeah.
The queens, the women that you can, even outside of your household, where you can go to and get good advice, get jacked up if you need it, and just get truth, and truth that's told to you in a way that you can accept it, that you still feel loved, that is coming from a place of love, right? Mm-hmm. So I hope that that's what we can be at this table, is that support system, and also just that we're always going to come from a place of love, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And the idea is, like we said, there's an apostrophe after the S in our logo. The idea is not that there's one queen. The idea is that we are building other queens. And I used to see this meme or something about one queen adjusting another queen's crown.
Yes.
Without having to tell anybody, that her crown was, girl, her crown was crooked and I had to fix it. None of that.
Exactly.
So I this is what the Queen's Table is. And I wish that it had been available for you guys back then, but you know what? We're here now.
Yes. Yes.
And I really did have some of the same experiences growing up. I think they hit me a little differently. But I remember trying out for a play. I went to Pinewood, which is, you're very other, very, very other there.
Aww.
But I remember trying out for a play, and I knew even back then, I was like, I know I can do this, and I know I'm good at this. And I mean, wasn't a blip on the radar screen. And I was so upset about it. And it was the first time I felt like, was that because I was Black? Because I know I was better than her. It was the first time I felt like that. I'm in elementary school, but it didn't change my drive. It didn't change what I knew I wanted to do for myself. So I just kept pushing. And then in high school, I remember I competed in the junior Miss pageant in high school and took home the talent award for a monologue that I did at Astronaut High School. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Ego Trippin' by Nikki Giovanni. It is this amazing poem. I'm going to get you guys a copy. It's an amazing poem about a Black woman. The first line is, I was born on the Congo.
Yep.
I walked to the Fertile Crescent and I built the Sphinx. And throughout the whole poem, she is just ego tripping. Right?
Yeah.
And so at Astronaut High School, back in that time, I dressed up in an Egyptian costume and did that as a monologue. And I could see some of the guys, they just were not, first of all, they ain't used to monologues, right?
Yeah. Right.
And then all of this Blackness coming at them. I think about that now, and I was like, man, I was a gutsy little teenager,
Yeah.
But so I understand it hit me differently, but it was the same thing. And I'm not really sure where my support system came from at that point, because my mom was kind of like, yeah, that don't pay money. So I think Phil, any comments?
Well, I was thinking about what you guys said earlier. Let me put the multi-view here. What I was thinking about what you said earlier is that how come so many Black families are in survival mode? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not really familiar with MIMS as much. I do know about the Harry V and Harriet T. I do know about that. But how come this area in particular, because I'm not from Florida, I'm from Virginia. How come this area is it's almost like a different planet here?
It is. Yeah. It is.
So why is that? And
I will tell you that, okay, so I graduated at 17 and fled to Florida A&M the summer of that year. I didn't wait for the next semester. I went up, I was like, out of here, and had not been back, did not come back as far as to live or to stay until 2011. Okay, so we're talking 1987 to 2011. And when I came back, I was like, ain't nothing changed. What in the world is this? What in the world? And I think that the answer to your question, Phil, is lack of investment. There is no investment. And so back when they used to do redlining and all of that, like, okay, that part of town we don't put our money into, we don't build in, we don't anything. And honestly, when I came back, it broke my heart. And I struggled for a while because I was coming back, just like I fled out of here. I fled back because of things that had happened. I had lost the job, had fell back home with mama. But this is why I started Tooley Community Development Group, because there was no money coming into the community. There was no investment coming into the community, and I couldn't understand why. It had been at least a couple of decades. And they did things like they put a workout room at Kyler Park. But I was like, but who asked for that? Is that what the community wanted? So that investment, I said, I want to be a conduit bringing money into this area. So I think that's the answer, Phil, is that there's just a lack of investment. I also think that people in this area don't know that there's money out there that it should be different. They don't know that it should be different.
Why do you think that?
Because they have been
conditioned.
Yes, yes. And there's a like you said, survival mode, where we're so busy trying to live day to day that we're not looking up at the horizon and seeing, wait a minute, it's not just my household, but how is my community doing? How is my whole community doing? Not just, can I pay my bills? But who has time to think about that if you can't pay your bills, right? So I think it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, hustle culture is what my Jen's calling it. Like, all right, I got to wake up, get this bread, wake up and get this bread, wake up and get this bread. And that's why we trained ourselves unconsciously to just go to work, come home, and plan to go to work until we make it big somehow.
And I think the sad part is that, I was a divorced mom. So I raised 2 children by myself. And I always felt like my measure of whether or not I was okay was, are the kids fed? Have they taken their bath? Did I get them in bed and the kitchen's clean now, and now I can lay down and get up and do it all again the next morning? When do you have time to look at the community? I'm just trying to hold it together for these kids. You know what I mean? So, and most of our community, unfortunately, is single moms.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to make it.
That's sad.
Yeah. And another question is, where are the men? That's another question.
Where are they?
In the studio.
Absent, whether it's physically there but still absent, or in prison, or hustling so hard that they're just not present. And unfortunately, I think some of it is this thing of, I don't have to be committed to a family. I don't have to be committed. I could have 5 babies and 5 baby mamas, and that's just my business.
Yeah.
You know.
That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk to you all about, because you're an artist and you're a musician.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm technically a musician too.
Yeah, the marimba,
right? I grew up with violin in elementary school. Then middle school, I switched to band, so percussion. Then high school, I still stayed in band. So mostly I consider my specialty to be mallet percussion, more specifically xylophones, marimbas, and vibraphones. So yeah.
See what I mean?
I don't even know what those are.
They're the
like wooden keyboards.
But see what I mean? It's like every day I learn something new about Crystal.
So, Crystal, why were you working at a hardware store?
Poor advising from the institution I was at. I utilized my advisor as much as I could, but she let me down. So when it was time for me to move on from an AS degree and get to my bachelor's, I pretty much didn't have any funding left. Is the gist of it. It's a very long story, but because of that, I got derailed and ended up in Alabama. I tried to go to Auburn University to get my degree, my bachelor's, but financial aid was not increased, and it was $50,000 tuition that I could not pay. So I did one semester, and then I came home, and I was just having jobs to make ends meet. Worked at GNC. Left GNC, started doing Instacart and DoorDash. And once I got sick of that, that's when I made it to the hardware store, and then Karen liberated me.
Freedom.
And you, Tynesha, how did you get into the stuff that you love?
I don't remember. Because I just remember myself being in the class. We all pulled out, we had to pick whatever, and I picked the violin. And I kept it going up until high school. And then my teacher really sat me down and was like, Tynesha, I think you should continue this. She moved me from second chair where I was very comfortable. And I told her I did not want to be first chair. But once I was a senior, she was like, it's time. Because she followed me throughout. She taught elementary, middle school, and high school. So she's seen me, and I had a couple of different teachers, but she had followed me as well. So she was very, very familiar with my talents. And she was like, no, I'm putting you first chair. So she did that, and I was just like, I'm not comfortable here. I do not belong here. I did not feel superior. I did not feel like I was supposed to be there with my other counterparts who were not,
Why? Why'd you feel inferior?
All right.
I mean,
because the only
syndrome.
other black girl that was there,
What's wrong
she
with
was
that?
also second chair. So I felt like I needed to
But your
put
talent.
myself with, like I said, that mindset. Like, all right, I belong here with you, where I'm
goodness.
comfortable, and we're killing it. We're doing it. I love playing the harmony over the melody. But then my teacher was like, no, get up here. And then I was first chair. And then it was just like, boom, you can't do it anymore. Reality hit me. I wanted to switch, and so I was all right. If I have to not do violin, I wanted to do medical coding and billing, which I didn't know my love for tech played a big role in that as well. So I went to Eastern Florida. I did all my prereqs and everything while raising my son. So I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to take care of him. I'm going to finish out, get my medical coding and billing. And then I'm going to start going, and I'm just going to move up. And then reality hit me where they were like, hey, you got accepted into our program. You can come in and, finish up. And I was like, oh, thank you. But then they're like, full-time only. And I was like, oh. So I had to stop working because I was working 2 jobs at that time as well as going to school. So I had to make a decision. I had to say, well, am I going to finish out and get accepted into the program and accept their offer, or am I going to continue to work to take care of my family? And I had to make that decision to take care of my family, and I sat on it, and I became a dietary aide, and then I did cleaning, and once I got tired of cleaning, I told my sister, I was like, I'm not doing cleaning no more. So I branched out, and I got to a call center where I was working, doing whatever, Thank you for calling Estee Lauder. Hi, my name is Tynesha. I was doing my scripts, and, I was doing it up in there, and then manager saw me. She was like, hey, I was doing your performance review, and I think you're ready to be promoted to a different position. So she moved me up, and so I wasn't on the phone taking calls. I was on the back end doing the technical stuff, like looking at the orders. People were like, hey, I have a person that I need to, can you check their history? I think it may be successful fraud and stuff. So I was building up my computer savvy and customer savvy tech skills or whatever. And then I was like, no, I want to do truck driving. So I had another career shift,
What?
So at this point,
It's like a big jump, right?
that's a big jump. I have to find my drive, because that little girl that always wanted to be a musician, that wanted to be talented, that wanted to be in the arts, still is coming out, but I can't find her anymore. So I'm just jumping. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I was at FedEx for 3 years. I became the contract manager. I was like, I want to get my CD out. I want to be an owner operator. I want to take my own truck, and I want to push freight up and down Florida. I just want to come do and be back home every night. And then also reality hit me. I was like, well, Corbin's the little boy. Who's gonna be with him while I do that? And so I was like, well, I have to sit on that. And then that's when I really found my love for tech. And I didn't think there was so much money in the tech world. So I was like, oh, wow, all these different opportunities and jobs that I don't need to go back to school and be told like I can't do the program. I could just do it hands on and just learn and grow. And that's what I did on the side until I met Janae, and she hooked me up with Tooley. And then I kind of still found my way back. And now I'm the data coordinator here. So it all worked out in the end for me. But I still, that's how I got from music to
Do you still
data
practice
coordinating.
violin or no?
I picked up because I did self-taught piano when I was in middle school. So I tried to teach myself piano based on because the clefs
She
were
was a
very
prodigy.
similar.
Right?
Yeah,
Both
so I
you.
taught
Both of them. Both
Yeah,
of
so I
them.
taught myself piano, and then when I first moved out and I got my own apartment back in 2019, I saw a violin on Facebook Marketplace. I mean, a keyboard on Facebook Marketplace. So I was like, I'm gonna get it. They're throwing it away. I have to get it. It's the biggest one they had. I was like, I'm gonna get it. And I tried to get back into it, and I was getting into it, and I was like, no. And I sat it down, and it collected dust. And I felt like what Crystal felt with, I wanted to really get back into music. And I see all these beautifully talented Black violinists and orchestras traveling and doing it up. And I was like, why didn't I stick with what I wanted to do? Now I have no drive, no motivation to pick up a violin anymore.
Well, you just need to find that spark again.
I think I do.
Do you remember when you were a kid? What gave you that spark?
Yeah, being good at it and love the sound. I am music. Music tickles my brain, if that makes sense. It's a little crinkly crunchies. When I play a note and I hit it and I do my little vibrato, I'm like, and I'm just like, this is heaven for me. And then I just leave and I'm no longer here.
Wow. That is amazing.
So
That's amazing. And it's amazing to me that, first of all, I just feel incredibly blessed to have the two of you. I really do. And secondly, I want to be the type of person that can find that thing for you and then connect you somehow back to that thing. So to be able to have you as data coordinator when that's something that really, really kind of like hit a spot for you, I think I love that. And Crystal with the housing stuff, and we've been designing a what we want to do as a homeless shelter. And Crystal has been doing the floor plans and doing the layout and all of that. So I'm just like, to have them do the things that they want to do. Now we got to figure that music thing out, y'all.
We gotta get you back on the show to play.
Yes, because me and Crystal, I was just telling her, I was like, Crystal, you were in band, I was in orchestra. Girl, let's get you here.
I would love to. When I graduated, that was the most painful day of my life. I cried not because I was leaving the school. I cried because I was leaving my instrument. That was literally like tearing a part of my soul. And just thinking about it right now is like making me, it hurts.
Yeah.
I want my instrument back, but it's like over $2,000.
Yeah.
It's crazy expensive. And eventually I'll get it.
Oh, yeah.
But until I do, I just kind of just cry about it.
I find myself feeling the same way because I'm like, God, I miss having solo and ensemble, being with your little group. And then I used to memorize my sheet music. Crystal, you did too.
Yeah.
We memorized our sheet music. It wasn't no paper for
I
us.
never had to use it.
And that goes back into a DNA of we always have to strive for excellence. We have to be better. If I was the only one in there that was memorizing sheet music, I was gonna look any other. I'm the only one memorizing my sheet music. I go up, present. I don't need a music stand. I don't need my paper. I go and do my thing. And that's what my teacher really thought. Like, hey, you really need to take this with you, Tynesha. You have it.
I was a musician too. I played the clarinet,
That's what I'm talking about.
and I was not good.
She's Squidward.
I was not good. I was forced to do it. First of all, let's get that straight. My mother required that all of us do band,
Nice.
and I had no interest. I love music. I love to sing, but I don't want to read no music. So I really, and then she put us in piano lessons. I was again forced. It was a hostage situation,
Oh.
and so I was required to do that. And eventually, I came into my own when it was cheerleading, theater, and dance.
That's what I'm talking
Those were my things. But the whole read the music and understand, No, no. I was like, I need like you. I needed to be liberated.
Oh no, Crystal, have you ever had that moment where everybody is playing the note, following the music? Maybe it's just me. I'd be following the music, and then I'm on beat, and I'm on beat. Everybody stop. I'm still playing. I'm still playing. I'm still playing. You know, and I'm not even looking anymore. I know the next note off rip because of how the sequence is.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, did you have the point where you were like, oh, okay, well, everybody's playing this note incorrectly. What's going
Yeah,
on?
you can hear when someone plays a bad note, and it's like,
And it's like,
Yeah.
get out.
Yeah. My daughter is like that. She's definitely the musician as well. But I love this conversation because I think there's so many riches that are buried in our community. And like Phil said, we end up living in this space of survival mode. And so all of the art, all of the culture, all of the beauty gets kind of crushed down, and we're just money. Where's the money? Where's the next dollar coming from?
Yeah.
And I want us to be able to liberate some people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, one of the things I would love to see more Black women in tech. Please. Yeah. It's not all about nursing, hair and nails. Come on, baby. I know. You're good at the social media. You're good at content creating. Let me show you how to work this day. Let me show you how to go on the back end and fix this page. Work for a corporation while you do what you love. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we have to start doing what we love and make money. We can do both. Yeah. It's room to do both. But I'm a hypocrite because I'm also not going to pick up that violin anytime.
I was exposed to coding earlier on.
Oh, yes.
Which is why I'm glad we do what we do here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get a chance to do coding until I got to college, and I had no choice because I only had a few electives left.
Right.
And once I started doing some coding, I'm like, I really like this, and I wish I had known about it sooner because I still probably would want to be an architect, but I'd probably have like some sort of side gig doing some coding because I do like code.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you know how many people would just pay you just to build up a back-end website or fix a simple problem that their corporation has been having for the past year and a half, where it's just a simple turn off a permission set and go and like rearrange all the things because people who are supposed to be answering the phone calls or seeing data spreadsheets and music. Seeing data spreadsheets and the money, and they're not supposed to be in there switching everything. It's just so easy to go in and be like, oh, here's your problem. Boop, delete, and then put in the right code, and then everything starts working again. Yeah. It's very important.
You said simple. It ain't simple.
Well, sorry.
So the Queen's Table. Karen, do you have any final words before we get out of here?
No, I'm impressed by I'm learning things today that I didn't know about these ladies, and I wonder how many of our clients and how many others that we just don't know what's kind of buried underneath the struggle, but that's why we're here. We're gonna find that stuff. That's why Tooley exists. We're gonna find that stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we are signing off from the Queen's Table. Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
You're welcome.
And we will see you next time.
All right.